Hello and welcome to our new series of minisodes with author and social media strategist Zoe Lea. It's great to have you with us, Zoe. Would you like to start by introducing yourself to our listeners and watchers?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Nikki. And it's lovely to be here. So my name's Zoe Lea, and I am the author of two psychological thrillers, The Secretary and If He Wakes. And I'm also a social media strategist, particularly for authors. So I help authors and writers sell their books via social media.
That's brilliant. I should also say that us three are really good friends, aren't we? And I'm like chat every day kind of friends. And I have this massive desire. I've got the giggles. It's hidden. It's just beneath the surface. So apologies now, everybody, for whatever this is. But yes, each mini-sode will be around 10 minutes long, and we'll focus on all the do's and don'ts of social media and how to grow followers and sell books. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to Minisode 1, Social Media Platforms Explained. My first question, Zoe, is what are the key platforms authors need to be aware of and how are they suited to help authors?
Okay, so the key platforms, and I'm sure that everybody listening and watching will know these. So they've got Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. I could go on and on and on and on. So you said, what are the key platforms and how are they suited to authors? So I'm going to tell you that there's two things as an author that you need to think about when thinking about which platforms on social media you should be. The first one is, which one do you enjoy? Because it's no point in taking up Twitter if you hate Twitter, because then you will despise being on there, and that's not what it's all about. It's all about consistency and showing up and being social media, enjoying yourself. That's the first thing. The second thing is it's only worth being on a social media platform if your ideal readers are there. So if the people who buy and read your books are hanging out on TikTok, it's no good you being on Facebook. So hopefully there is a crossover between a platform that you enjoy being in and where your ideal readers are. And that's like the perfect storm. That's where you want to be.
That's so true, I think, Zoe, isn't it? It's I mean, I like Twitter. I love Twitter. I was rather gutted when Elon took over, and there was a couple of weeks there when I thought it would disappear completely, and everyone disappeared over to Mastodon or set up dual accounts and that kind of thing. So
I'm so glad that didn't take off.
Yeah,
I know.
Yes. So yeah, I think finding one that you like is absolutely key. Twitter feels very natural to me. I like kind of writing short responses to things. Although apparently it's changing, and we're going to get 4,000
characters. Yeah, I can't write 5 words without a typo. It's going to be a nightmare. You have to edit function.
Too right, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that does help. It makes it feel more fun, doesn't it? And I think you're right. It has to feel like you're enjoying it and getting something back out of it. Otherwise, it just doesn't work.
The worst feeling in the world is having that, I've got to go on social media and do my posts, because that's just not what it's all about. The priority is writing. We're writers and we want to share our writing. We should be like, I want to tell my community about my book. That's the kind of enthusiasm we should have when going out to social media. Not, oh my gosh, I don't want to get there.
So that's a bit like how I feel when I have to do a TikTok. Which I think we'll probably be talking about at some point. But so how often, Zoe, do you think that authors should be posting on each platform?
Whatever is right for the author's schedule or your schedule. So whatever is sustainable. So when you're looking at it, it is no point in thinking I'm going to be everywhere all the time, because you wouldn't have an hour in the day to yourself or to write. So it's really important when you're setting up your strategy and your schedule, you're thinking, how many times a week have I got time to make content? How many times a week can I post? Can I keep this up? Because it is so much more effective to say, right, I'm going to be on Instagram Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then I'll repurpose that content to TikTok. So there's 2 days per week where I will just take an hour to be on social media. If you can keep that up for 6 months, that is so much more effective than being, say, I'm going to be on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok every day all week and doing that for a month, and then suddenly going silent because you're fed up of it and burnt out. And then the algorithm and your community will be like, well, where have you gone? I was watching this, and you come to expect it. I mean, with other authors that you might follow or people you follow, you'll be like, I wonder what they're up to today. And you get into the rhythm with their posting. So there is no hard and fast rules. People say the more you post, the better it is. But I think sustainability is the key. So keep it going, you know.
Oh, I think that's such good advice. And I'm cringing inwardly at the fact that you've just described my strategy, which is go, 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 hide, go, go, go.
Yeah,
That's so true.
I know,
It's
we
so
all
true.
do it. We all do it, especially when there's news and you like a burst of enthusiasm because you think, oh, my book's coming out, or it's suddenly up for pre-order, and then you have this burst. But it's better to stick to a schedule or just stick to consistency, because you want to build up trust. That's what it's all about, building up trust.
That's so interesting. I'm sorry, I've gone slightly off of the questions asked here as well. You mentioned like having a strategy. Do you think it's a good idea then for authors to sit down like at the start of the month and think, right, these are the messages I have that I want to share this month, knowing when my book's coming out, and these are the sort of posts I could do each week. And then if you schedule it, actually maybe it takes less time. This is like an epiphany. I'm sorry you're going to be rolling your eyes because you say this stuff to us all the time. It's literally just clicking in my head that this should be like plan, and I'm a planner, guys. I should be planning.
So I would go so far as to say, you know, at the beginning of the year, so you know what you're writing on, you know what books are coming out, you know what you're working on, even if it's just like a rough sketch. So you just make it out like, okay, well, I'm working on this book then, that goes up for pre-order then, and then you know what you're talking to your community about. So it takes away all the stress of, oh my God, panic post, I've not posted today, what am I going to do? And also it gives every piece of content that you've got a purpose. So you're not just throwing something wildly out there. You're like you're sharing valuable information with your readers. So you can kind of do that on a monthly basis or a yearly basis. And I think we'll go into this, you know, we'll talk about this much more, but it's also worth looking at your analytics to see what hits home and what doesn't. It's like an ongoing thing. But if you make a basic plan at the beginning of the year, then you are never stuck for what to post.
Lauren and Vicky are just making faces because we're like, analytics? What? So my final question, and I think we're sort of already talking about this, is how essential is social media for authors? And what advice do you have for anyone who hates posting?
If you hate posting on social media, don't do it. If you're not enjoying it, don't do it. I am a firm believer that you should do everything that's fun. You know what I mean? We're creators. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, you should be doing this, because there is so many ways to market your book. There's so many ways to get out there. But what I would suggest, if you hate it, and I think the part that most people hate, rather, if they have their own social media accounts, is the constant like notifications, the pressure to post, the pressure to answer. But what you can do is piggyback on somebody else's social media. So if you don't look at authors, like, I don't think anybody listening or watching this will think of other authors as their competition. If you just look at every author as a collaborator, and you get somebody who's got your ideal reader, and you're like, look, would you mind if I did a guest post? Could I just come on to your podcast like this? Or, you know, take over your Instagram, or just do a few TikToks now and again. And then you've got a community, an audience, you're just borrowing that and getting your book in front of them. So sort of guest posting is a brilliant way to get over that. And you can kind of have all the benefits of social media without thinking, oh, I've got to post today, or I've got to answer those comments, or, you know, if you hate it. But if you really despise it, and that's even going too far, then just don't do it. You know, like, do other things. There's so many other things that you can do to market your book, because I think it comes across. I mean, don't you? Like, when you look at somebody's social media, if it feels forced, maybe you can tell that somebody's really uncomfortable. I can't bear to watch it. I'm like, oh, love, just get off.
Yeah, no, I think that makes complete sense. I'm going to be emailing you straight after this, Zoe, being like, I piggyback on your TikTok. So yeah, I think that's great. So this is a brilliant first minisode to kick us off, and I think the two words that are really going to stick in my 3 words actually stick in my mind are purpose, community, and strategy.
Ooh, lovely. Yes.
Are they all right, Zoe?
And planning. Yes, planning.
I'm going to get post-its. But sadly, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you for listening to our minisode with social media strategist Zoe Lea. And thank you, Zoe, for sharing your expertise with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I've loved chatting with you two always, so thank you.
Oh, it was lovely to have you, Zoe. And I should remind our listeners that Zoe is the best-selling psychological fiction author of If He Waits and Secretary, both of which available to buy right now. And Zoe is also a social media strategist. So for more information and how to see how Zoe might be able to help you, sign up for her weekly newsletter, which is full of social media tips for authors on Substack under the Author's Guide 2. or you can go and have a look at her website, which is at zoelea.com, and that's LEA.com.
And all the links are in the descriptions of this episode, no matter where you're watching or listening. But that's it for us. So it's a goodbye from Zoe.
Bye.
And it's a goodbye from us. Goodbye.
Bye.